Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a clan 2v2 battle here. I'm going to be the green player, and my ally, Harrydog, is going to be the blue player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to go ahead and get that early game scouting in to try and grab those containers. We got some early combat unfolding around the map as we fight for those early game resources. So again, this is part of the new update. We can see that infantry have to stay in the container for the full time before you can secure the container. So we can see that both Harrydog and I are getting infrastructure down. I'm getting a nice scout onto the yellow player's base, and we can see that this yellow player is a little bit slower than I am on the development and is currently upgrading their headquarters to HQ2. Meanwhile, they've got a coyote inside my base. You can't really see it because this video is sped up, but the yellow player was using a gold scout boost. We can see here some combat happening around the big container that is spawned on the map. We can see that red's got riflemen and coyotes mixed together. Harrydog's going to have to retreat temporarily. Right now, for my end of things, I don't have the ground forces to go and fight for the container, so I'm just going to go and focus on base development. I do another scout on the yellow player. We can see that yellow is getting down their 4th and 5th supply center. So we can see Harrydog here is amassing assaults here. Red's going to capture the big container, but you still have to capture the small containers. Here comes Harrydog. Harrydog's now going to fight for the small containers, and we can see here that Harrydog's doing a good job cleaning up this initial assault force from the red player, and is actually going to be able to steal those containers from the red player. Nice move there, Harrydog. So here I am going HQ3, and I'm actually going to get out a couple hammers and a rocket tower because I am possibly suspecting a rush from the yellow player, given that they had 2 assault vehicle factories and armadillo production. So just going to take the precautions to make sure that I don't get rushed early on. So we can see that there are 2 armadillos and 2 coyotes, and the armadillos here are actually laying mines. So looks like this yellow player is going for a little bit of a camping strategy here and deterring me from trying to go and do an early ground assault onto their base. So we're going to focus on base development still. Still not sure what yellow's overall offensive strategy is going to be eventually, so I'm going to go ahead and get a cyclone out for scouting. Meanwhile, we can see Harrydog has got 7 supply centers out, is continuing to build infrastructure. We got a red coyote coming in to scout Harrydog's base, and we got 2 coyotes from the yellow player coming in to scout my base. I move a cyclone in over to the yellow player's base. We can see porcupines coming out from the yellow player. We see 2 assault vehicle factories going through and producing units, and we see a level 3 assault vehicle factory, and the yellow player is HQ3 with 5 supply centers, so looks like they're going for a conventional army build. Let's go ahead and check out to see what the red player's got in their base. And we can see here that the red player has a couple barracks, some supply centers, and look at this, the red player is still only HQ2. We can tell based on this full scouting of the red and yellow players that yellow is most likely the better player between the 2. So I tell Harrydog to see if Harrydog can get a full HQ3 army and make a push onto red's base, but Harrydog's going to flag the HQ, indicating that he is going for HQ4. He is actually originally planning to go for a shield army and some Thors. So we can see here that Harrydog has got a couple hammers, some infantry, and a Zeus moving into the center area of the map. And looks like Harrydog's going to see if he can try to secure another large container. Looks like the red player's got a couple dragonflies and some infantry. Here comes a larger engagement, and Harrydog's got a nice army composition here and is going to be able to move into that crate and contest it very well. Looks like this red player's army is going to get cleaned up nicely, and they're going to have to retreat. Meanwhile, I move some assaults to scout the crate on my side, and we can see that yellow's got a very nice defensive line set up with jaguars, porcupines, and armadillos. This yellow player knows what they are doing, so with this in mind, I'm going to have to be a little bit cautious with how I approach this. So just continuing to construct my army. I'm actually going to use a torrent to do some harassment long range, and we're going to have an engagement here. This Jaguar is going to get cleaned up by my army, and I'm taking my time here to slowly move up and clear out these units. And you can see that my units are on a hold stance. This is because I don't want them to wander forward. I know that there's most likely a bunch of mines, and I want to clear out any sort of mines before I move my army forward. Otherwise, my army is going to get shredded. So we can see, got my fortress coming in, and that is a lot of mines from the yellow player. You can clearly see from the radius of the mine detection and the speed at which my fortress moves that my fortress is nowhere near maxed. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to clear out these mines, and that's okay. We get another cyclone coming in to get another scout on the yellow player's base. Harrydog continuing to build up his ground army. We can see here a couple more mines from the area, so I feel comfortable enough at this point to move a little bit closer. Yellow sending in an armadillo to clean up my fortress. Then that armadillo is going to go down. And now we got these sniper towers firing onto my ground army. I'm going to go ahead and move my Zeus tanks up. And my Zeus tanks are going to start to dish out damage. This is my first push of the game onto the yellow player's base. Let's see what kind of damage we can do. So my Zeus tanks are firing onto a coyote. That coyote gets shredded. Now the sniper tower goes down. We can see that the yellow player's got a gun tower, and here comes some vehicles. Here come the Jaguars, some heavy armor moving in. That is a lot of vehicles, much more than I anticipated from the yellow player. So I underestimated the strength of the yellow player at this point, and it's going to cost me all of my Zeus tanks here. I'm still dishing out some good damage with those torrents, but without the Zeus tanks to protect them, those torrents are going to get cleaned up. So I've only got 1 or 2 Zeus tanks, looks like, to push an offensive. I'm not going to continue to press. I'm going to retreat, and the yellow player is also going to subsequently retreat. Harrydog still continuing to build up his ground army. I'm going to go ahead and tech up to HQ4. I think I'm going to need a bigger, heavier armor group to break the yellow player's defensive line, so we're going to need to tech up. I'm going to get some heavy assaults mixed in there as well, just in case the red player or yellow player decides to send in dragonflies. Meanwhile, Harrydog's now moving into the center of the map. I tell Harrydog to move to the center so that he can subsequently put some pressure onto the yellow player while I make another small push onto the yellow player's base. I'm going to go ahead and pull back my units though, just to give Harrydog some time to get in position. And here are 2 large crates with resources spawning in. And here comes the red player with another army. We see Jaguars, Dragonflies, and infantry. But Harrydog's got a large army to contest with, and he's got shield generators to support. Looks like we got a big engagement unfolding, but Harrydog is going to be able to clean up this red army very handily, and he's going to be able to secure that container. So I've just got a defensive line set up right now with some torrents, just so I don't have to deal with the yellow player putting down more mines between my base and their base. Harrydog splitting up his army so that he can try and capture both containers. I got his dudes coming in just to do a little bit of harassment onto that infantry. A couple more of my tanks going to wander forward, and I'm going to go ahead and pull my army back. I'm not quite ready to attack just yet. Here comes a big army though from the yellow player. We got some chameleons, jaguars, and porcupines, and Harrydog is going to lose this container. He's going to move in the other half of his army. We got Zeus tanks, shield, and infantry, but the shield generators are out of position. They're not going to be able to quite reinforce those Zeus tanks. Meanwhile, I see that yellow player has moved their army to go and fight Harrydog, so I'm going to try and move my army in. So here we go. I've got torrents, Zeus tanks, and heavy assaults. Let's see what kind of damage we can do. Meanwhile, here comes the red player. They've got dragonflies and infantry coming in to reinforce the yellow player's army, and looks like Harrydog's completely lost all of his army. That last shield generator getting cleaned up. My army is continuing to move in onto the yellow player's base. I've almost broken the defensive line. I'm not quite at the production structures yet. This Zeus tank from Harrydog is going to get cleaned up by the red army. Here comes more units from the yellow player, and defensive structures being spammed by the yellow player. I've only got 3 Zeus and 3 Torrents. This is not going to be enough to punch through. Those Jaguar tanks are pretty strong and they're taking a lot of hits, so it tells us that this yellow player has put a decent amount of upgrades on. Meanwhile, here comes the red player making a push onto my base. I've got a couple Torrents and Zeus tanks in position to defend, but I'm going to need more ground forces in this area or I'm going to be in danger. Meanwhile, yellow moving in now with their main attack force from earlier. They're going to be able to clean up my Torrents. So, looks like my second attack wasn't as successful as I hoped. Luckily, I was able to push the red player out of my base. And now I'm going to go and produce more vehicles to replenish my army. Harrydog is going to do the same as well. Looks like he's got a double assault vehicle factory build with a special vehicle factory. So the build that I'm going for is a combination of Zeus, Torrents, and heavy assaults. And it looks like Harrydog's composition is going to be infantry, shield, and Zeus. So right now we're just continuing to build our armies here. My plan is to go for a big attack force. Here comes a Dragonfly from the red player. Red's getting a nice scout onto Harrydog's base. We can see that Harrydog's got a pretty big ground army. So I don't want that Dragonfly to scout us. It's information that we don't want to give to the enemy. So I flag that Dragonfly. I tell Harrydog that we should have probably killed it, but a little bit too late for that. Harrydog's moving his full ground army onto the red player's base. I've just finished a Cyclone. I'm going to go ahead and send that Cyclone over to try and kill the Dragonfly to deny scouting. Here we go now. Dragonfly is moving in from the red player. Here comes Harrydog's army though. He's got a Torrent in the mix as well. A lot of infantry as meat shield and the Zeus to dish out damage. And we can see that there's Grenadiers, Porcupines, and Jaguars from the red army. And this is a good defensive line, but the defensive line is falling apart from the red player. Harrydog continuing to push onto the red player's base. His shield generators are out of position though. Harrydog's got to move those shield generators back or they're going to get destroyed by the Jaguars. Here comes the yellow player though. Yellow's moving in with a huge chameleon army. And Harrydog's in trouble. He's got only a few Zeus tanks left. It's a decent amount of firepower, but yellow's going to move right in behind the Zeus army, going to cut off the Zeus army, and this Zeus army is now going to get shredded. Meanwhile, my army is making a full push onto the yellow player's base. I've got 4 Torrents and plenty of Zeus and heavy assaults, and there's no defensive buildings or units to stop my advance. I am decimating the yellow player's base. Yellow's in trouble. They've got to do something fast. What's their response going to be? And this is the response. We see the yellow player moving in with Porcupines, Jaguars, and Chameleons onto Harrydog's base. Harrydog is in trouble. He has no ground army. This is turning into a base trade. Yellow is going to sacrifice their base in an attempt to try and level Harrydog's base. It's going to be a race against time. Meanwhile, I'm continuing to move onto the yellow player's base. Yellow is losing pretty much all of their buildings, but they're trying to build away from their headquarters. These Jaguars now fully deployed inside Harrydog's base are just continuing to level Harrydog's base. I'm going to level the HQ for the yellow player, and I'm going to take out this last supply center. These Jaguars still dishing out some good damage, and they're going to go ahead and undeploy their Jaguars and move into position. Meanwhile, I see a construction yard here from the yellow player. Yellow is trying to build their HQ away from the center of their original build area in an effort to rebuild their army while also repositioning these Jaguars. The Jaguars are now repositioned close to the assault vehicle factory and the headquarters. Harrydog still trying to desperately produce units to defend, but he's only got the 1 factory and 1 Zeus tank. 1 Zeus tank isn't going to cut it. It's going to get cleaned up by those Jaguars. Harrydog desperately trying to build structures and defensive buildings. I'm moving a full Zeus army up towards the red player's base and the heavy assaults. If the red player is able to repel my assault, we're going to be in trouble here. It's a little bit of a tight spot. Let's see what we can do here. So we're getting another view of the red player's base. Meanwhile, another HQ goes down for the yellow player. Possibly a gold HQ for reserve, but it's going to get taken out by my torrents. Red's now trying to defend, sending an infantry, dragonfly, porcupine, and jaguars into the mix, but it is not going to be enough. I am inside the heart of Red's base, and I'm just continuing to dish out massive damage onto these units and the structures, and this is not going to be enough. Yellow is just about finished cleaning up Harrydog's base, but there is no way that they're going to be able to clean up my base as well in the time that it'll take me to finish Red. And that is pretty much good game. You can see me using aviation servicing boosts. That's just to fulfill a contract. Hope you all enjoyed this battle with an exciting ending to it. And we will see you in the next battle. Pretty much good game. Take care.